Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Knock On Podcast, brought to you by the good people at Zero Tackle. And Dan, we had a week off due to technical difficulties, but there's no technical difficulties now. We're in a prelim, but there's so much more happening outside of rugby league than rugby league. So you're here to tell us what's been happening.
I reached out to you earlier, Terry, because I felt a little guilty about last week. We've got a bumper show. Dare I say the best show ever. Lots of research, but let's get into the best
show since our last show.
Yeah, it's spot on. Goes without saying. Mark, Key Mark, is off to rugby union. Now, you and I have been won over by this bloke numerous times over this season. We thought it was a bit of a novelty. He played some good football, scored some nice tries, couldn't defend. Right now, I have a feeling you and I are going to discuss his name in a further later subject. What does this mean for him, the Roosters, rugby, the game of rugby league? Just give me all your thoughts. Those that missed it early, Marky Mark has given notice, reportedly, to the Roosters that he wishes to return to rugby union after the 2026 season.
Yeah, he wants to play in the World Cup. The World Cup's on Australian soil, and I think this is why they went and got Joseph Swaliti. I think they'll have one more red-hot crack at Kalen Ponga. There'll be some other players that some skillful players that they'll want, but it kind of sucks because, the Roosters got him cheap. He re-signed and got himself a nice deal, for the extra 1-year extension. And now he's going to get a massive pay packet. And he's also, Rugby Australia relaxed the rules where they don't have to play in the Super Rugby to be picked to play for Australia. So he's going to go and get himself a massive contract in France, Japan, somewhere in Europe, and play. But I mean, the Roosters will feel that the last 2.5 years worth of development will be all for nothing because they're not going to see the rewards of it. The NRL can probably feel a bit aggrieved that they're not going to see the fruits of this guy's, labour. Like he's probably going to get picked on the Ashes tour, but he's not going to be there for the next World Cup that we have in rugby league. The Roosters released Dominic Young because they were all in on this guy and they're not going to have him anymore. And it sucks as a fan as well because, kids want to be Mark Nawaqanitawase. There's kids running around at Heathcote just doing the Marky Mark, and they're in the Shire.
Yeah.
So he's one of them guys who's been in rugby league for a hot minute. He's got so many fans and now he's going.
It's true. And look, I am not a fan of rugby union. I'm willing to admit that. If the Wallabies were easy to watch, I would probably seek them out, but they're behind a paywall and I just don't enjoy it enough to go looking for them and to pay that whatever it is a month. I think this is brilliant from him because he goes to rugby a much, much, much bigger star than he left. People knew him, don't get me wrong. In rugby circles, he was huge. But now he's got hundreds of thousands of rugby league fans that'll go, oh, we got to check that out. I think Suaalii was a better league player than Marky Mark. But this bloke has put together a highlights package that few other... He's probably got the individual try of the year. He's got 4 or 5 efforts of the year. It's a real loss to rugby league. I don't feel bad for the Roosters because not for 1 second did I ever think that this would end any other way than him going back and playing a home World Cup in rugby, and I think they might have thought the same. Rugby league could come in and say, look, we do have this marquee fund that was all those years ago. Maybe this is sort of where you go to take it. I don't even know when the World Cup is. Is it 28? You got to imagine he'd have a year or two. So he's going to have a year. Maybe he just signs a 1 or 2 year deal and then comes back after.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if that's been his plan all along, or I don't know if, that's. I don't even know. Like, if you're rugby league, are you wanting that to happen? Like, you knew it was coming, but it sucks that it's coming. You know what I mean? Like, it sucks that we're going to lose such a quality player and a guy who's taken the rugby league like duck to water, and now it just feels like it's all for nothing.
It does. But if the Roosters win the premiership next year, it's not.
If. Yeah, I don't know. I don't like it. And I'm not one to cry tears for the Roosters, but this sucks for them.
Yeah, I agree. But to another team that sucks, a club that sucks. The Manly Warringah Seagulls. Fresh off losing Daly Cherry Evans, evidently, a couple of weeks ago, Tommy Turbo, we were going to bring it up, but technical difficulties beat us. Tommy Turbo said, hey, look, probably going to have a look in England. It's time to move on. They sat down. Manly came up with a big deal that's reportedly worth about 850,000 a year. Went to the board. The board said, we're not paying that. Went back to Turbo, and he said, well, I'm going to explore my options at the end of the year when he's off contract. Wouldn't it be just like the most ridiculous thing to enter this year? If I told you 12 months ago, Manly could possibly lose DCE, well, definitely, and possibly Tommy Turbo in the space of 12 months, what would you have said?
I would have understood the Turbo. I could really, really understand Manly moving off Turbo because they've had a lot of money invested in this guy, and apart from one season, you can't say that they've had the greatest of return on investment. Like, for full disclosure, people tune into one of the many Fins Up podcasts that we do this week, whether it's going to be a solo podcast that I do by myself or one with Dan, because I've just my brain hasn't let me sleep, but Manly haven't had the greatest of seasons with him. And they had one really good year in COVID and they got beat by about 40 points in a prelim. He was the player of the year in 15 games. I get that. But outside of that, when have you actually looked at Manly and just gone, geez, they're a threat, they're a chance? I could see them winning the comp. Last year, they beat the Bulldogs by 2 points and then went and lost to the Roosters by about 30 in week 2. And this year they were in the top 8 and then they just fell away, and then they looked like they were going to have a charge and then they fell away. And in the end, they ended up, 11th, 10th, 12th, somewhere around there. So I could understand that, but I would have called you a madman if you told me that DCE wouldn't finish his career at Manly.
With Turbo, DCE, obviously 100% agreed. I still can't believe it's going to happen. Turbo, a couple of years ago, said that he would take a pay cut because of, the games he missed through injury. And now Manly have said, cool, it's time to honour that. And he said, well, no, I'm going to go talk to England. Now, the idea is that he doesn't want to play against Manly, so he's obviously going to go to England. The offer over there, because their salary cap's not what it used to be. It's not like they go over there for a huge payday.
No.
He's going to be on considerably less than what he would get here, which mirrors the DCE thing that he said, I want this. Manly said no. He said, okay, well, I'm going elsewhere. And they said, actually, you can have it. I have no doubt that Manly are going to come out by the time this publishes and say, hey, actually, we'll honour the original deal. Are these players just getting their feelings hurt, or are Manly spitting on these guys? Because if you agree a deal with a player, then go to the board and the board hasn't already signed off on it, I think that's negotiating in bad faith. Because if I say to you, Terry, I'll give you $10, hold on, I just have to go ask this guy over here, I shouldn't have said that to you first. I should have had clearance first. I just think Manly's an absolute doghouse at the moment. We'll go with that. And Turbo might walk away in seeing that.
I wouldn't be surprised. Like, you're absolutely right. It's negotiating in bad faith. And I don't think it's intentional from Manly. I think the people who wanted to re-sign Turbo would have just thought, hey, he's on like a cool 1.1 or whatever. We've got him down to 850 and he wants to stay. If we're going to the board and saying, we're saving 750K over 3 years, whatever, and the board's come back and said, not a chance. It's a basket case. That's all you can say. Manly is just an absolute basket case at the moment. And long may it continue. Another club that I'm not going to cry any tears for.
Absolutely right. But we'll go to a positive, somewhat. David Moale signed for Manly 2 years in advance. Souths are giving him permission. It's not like he's done anything wrong. Their thinking is that they want to get David Fafita in and they'll just release Moale as soon as that happens. Looks like it's going to happen probably in the next few weeks. Decent pickup. Probably Manly's middle rotation is probably the worst in the competition or bottom 3. And I think that costs them massively. Jake Travojevic coming off $1 million next year, I believe, is going to help them a lot because they've got money to invest. He's not $1 million player anymore. Hasn't been for a couple of years. But Manly fans are like, this is exactly the signing we want. Tell me 3 things about Davvy Moale other than his name's David Moale. I challenge anyone. He's a good signing, but this isn't the exact signing they need.
Well, don't forget they've also signed Kobe Hetherington.
Cool.
Now,
Tell me
you
3
say
things about
that
Kobe
like, oh
Hetherington.
yeah, cool, but Kobe Hetherington's actually a pretty handy player.
And
Davey Moale's been pretty good for Souths. He played at the last World Cup, I believe, for the Cook Islands. You can fact check me on that if you want, but I'm pretty sure he played at the last World Cup. He's young. He's 23, so he's nowhere near his best at the moment. And I think if Souths are going all in for David Fafita and this guy who started this year for Souths pretty well and finished the year pretty well in a team that was diabolical, it's not a bad pickup for Manly. And as you said, their middle rotation sucks. And now you're going to turn around and say, well, they've got Taniela Paseka, they've got Ethan Bullymore, they've got Kobe Hetherington and David Moale. It's not bad. It's better than what they had.
it's a definite improvement. I don't hate the signing by any stretch. I just think Manly are in a position right now, and again, I'm just taking digs because it's really funny. They've had it over us for a lot of years. It's good to reverse it. They're signing blokes that, are pretty handy first graders and treating it like Kobe Hetherington. I thought he started the season on fire. That middle rotation for Brisbane, I was sure they were going to walk in and win the title on the back of those 3, with Carrigan and Haas being the others. Has he even been picked this weekend, Hetherington?
I think he's on
Like,
the bench.
I couldn't. He's definitely not starting. He's fallen so far behind, and everyone was talking about how happy they are to see Xavier Willison come back in. So I think the pickups are good for Manly. I'm happy in that regard. Again, no tears for them when they're bad. But I don't think losing Turbo and DCE is going to be off put by, hey, we signed David Moale.
No, definitely not. And even still, I know you said to me that you wanted to take talk about another player that Manly have signed as well. Is that on the run sheet?
Please go for it.
Bringing in to Jamal Fogarty now, I think Jamal Fogarty had his best year of his career this year. It's just unfortunate that his last 2 games, well, not even his last 2 games, his first 60 minutes against Brisbane, he was outstanding. His last 35 minutes, he just couldn't manage that game whatsoever and he missed a field goal. Against Cronulla, he was absolutely diabolical. Like a save from that one huge bomb that he put up, that Will Kennedy knocked on and they weren't punished for, he didn't really do much. And his defense was disgraceful. Now, a lot of people have said that he's not going to have the same luxury at Manly as he does at Canberra with a big forward pack, which is why I think, you go out and get Kobe Hetherington, you go out and get David Moale. Sure, it's not Tarpany, it's not Papali'i, and it's not Corey Horsburgh, but it's big bodies who can make 100 meters. But again, you're partnering him with Luke Brooks. Yeah, I think Manly are going to stay exactly as they are.
So we had Fogarty on the run sheet, obviously. I said earlier, Jamal Fogarty, and you said why. And I said, I joked that he sucks. I don't mean that. I'm a huge fan of Jamal Fogarty. I know you're a much bigger fan, which is why I want to play devil's advocate here. Home game, minor premiers. Brisbane on the ropes, gone, down by 16 points. Not only does he not get them home, but he can't kick the field goal. Does that remind you of another halfback in the competition, mate?
Yeah, our halfback.
Yeah. And what does Twitter do? What does every lazy Fox journo do? What does every bloke on every single podcast in the world do? They come on and bag Nicho Hynes. I haven't heard 3/5 of boo about Jamal Fogarty, except from Canberra fans who messaged me a week before and said they're worried because he can't win big games. He is short of Nicho Hynes was the joke they were making. I don't even know if that's true, amongst other things. And going into this week, I was worried about one half for Canberra, and it wasn't Jamal Fogarty, it was Ethan Strange. When he got ruled out, I thought, oh, well, this is going to be Fogarty. He's just going to shove it up my backside now.
Yeah.
He was probably the worst player in the park the other night, and Manly spent a lot of money to bring him there. Am I being unfair?
No, and look, in saying this, I listened to a couple of rugby league podcasts outside of ours, to just find out what people like. I picked the podcast that I like because there's pundits on there that I think that are really good, and one of them is NRL Boom Rookies, hosted by Matt Bungard and Nick Campton. And Nick Campton is a massive Canberra fan, and trust me when I say in the last two podcasts, the last two reviews of the Canberra games, he's unloaded on Jamal Fogarty. So I think, yeah, I think Fogarty is going to get the criticism, and I think next year as well, it'll probably come out. You're going to see the flaws in Fogarty, and you know, like Canberra have had some good seasons with Fogarty there. Let's not sugarcoat it as well, but they've also missed the 8. They've come 8th. They've been there or thereabouts this year. Is it an anomaly? Who knows? I like Jamal Fogarty, but I don't think he's a halfback that can win you a premiership, and especially going into that Manly team, I don't see it.
Nope, that's cool. We'll leave it there. Moving on to a team where I still don't believe has found their halfback. That's Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs. Now, it'll be very easy to sit here and just bag one player. And again, I want to be very upfront here. I think Galvin's going to be a star, but I think his manager absolutely ruined his chances this season, and he's been made a pariah, and everyone's going to hammer him no matter what he does. We can talk about that all night. We've done so, and we'll do so again in the future. I want to say this, Terry. I don't think Galvin's responsible for the Bulldogs being terrible all by himself. I think the Bulldogs were pretty good early on, very good even. I just don't think they had any creativity. They had no plan B. And as soon as people figured him out, they couldn't do anything. They won like one game in their last 6, and that was against the Penrith side that you and I could have beat up on because they were reserve grade kids, and they went in and they weren't competitive in either finals. I just think there was no plan B.
No, I'm not as high on Lachlan Galvin as anyone else. I've joked a couple of times. I think by his 24th birthday, he'll be at Salford. And the reason why I make that joke is because Salford won't exist by Lachlan Galvin's 24th birthday. But I'm not as high on him by any means. But I don't think he's the sole reason. I think Cameron Ciraldo tried to be a big brain, and I think Gus Gould tried to be a big brain as well. And they just tried to move too many pieces, right? The easiest thing to do when they got him was just put him in the team and get rid of Toby Sexton, but then they started moving this person around, and they started moving that person around, and you didn't know whether Kirkman was going to start at lock or it was going to be Jamin Salmon. And all of a sudden, they took out Reid Marnie, who was very close to State of Origin, for Bailey Hayward, who's very close to New South Wales Cup. You know, they just, even again on the weekend against Penrith, they had to put Matt Burton in the centres. Bronson Xerri has played left centre all year. I have nightmares about the game at Shark Park where Bronson Xerri went for 250 metres, scored 2 tries and absolutely cut us to pieces. Bronson Xerri's never played a big amount of time at right centre for Cronulla. He's never played a game of right centre at all for Canterbury. And yet he puts Bronson Xerri on the right and he puts Matt Burton on the left because Matt Burton was the centre of the year. Matt Burton was the centre of the year in 2021, has played 3 games at centre in 4 years or four seasons since then. So he tried to get too creative with it, and he moved this person over here and he said, Bailey Hayward's a better talker. I've said it many a times and I'll say it again. You can't get a better talker in the game than Reid Marnie because every single person wants to punch his face in.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not because of what he does, it's because of what he says to him. A penalty goes and Reid Marnie goes up and says something about someone's mum. Or, your wife wouldn't have given that penalty. Or something stupid like that. But you can't tell me Bailey Hayward's a better talker than the guy who's running his mouth for 80 minutes and everyone wants to kill. They just tried to get too fancy with it. Satili Tupanua at lock started the year on the bench, starts a major semi-final at front row. Like, when was the last time? Satili Tupanua had a great game.
Mm-hmm.
When was the last time he played front row, though?
Probably sometime during his kid days.
Yeah, and there's so many times where, like, we've even been hypercritical of our coach for trying to overcomplicate things. All they really need to do was just say, cool, we got Lachlan Galvin in, Sexton out.
I just don't think, like, this past Sunday afternoon.
I want to say one more thing as well. You said about Lachlan Galvin's manager steering you up, set him up for failure. He absolutely set him up for failure when he told him to reject that Parramatta deal, because he would have been playing 5'8" next to Mitchell Moses for the next 5 years of his career, and now he's either going to go and play halfback in, he's essentially going to be a rookie halfback next year, or he's going to be playing with Mitchell Woods, who's a rookie halfback next year. I would rather play next to Mitchell Moses. His manager gave him a raw deal there.
Big time. Great shout. I just think the Dogs had no creativity. All they did was went right, and Galvin and Preston had a lot of enjoyment out on that side, but otherwise they couldn't do anything. Like it just, and I know they're missing some troops. They're missing a pretty handy centre in Stephen Crichton, but I go back to their fullback, Connor Tracy. Runs for 200 metres a game, but offers nothing in creativity. As soon as he gets in a final, the bright lights hit and he wilts. I just think the Dogs got it completely wrong. But we'll move on before we get too heated, mate. We got 2 in-depth segments here that took some research. We're going to do our Dally M predictions this week because if we make a grand final next week, full disclosure, well, I'm not going to be reachable, put it that for a start. So we're not going to, I think it's next Wednesday, so they'll beat us anyways. But, mate, can I just get some quick thoughts from you? Dally M medal, is there anyone that will come close to James Tedesco? Because we're both going to predict him.
I thought if there was one player that would give him a run for his money, it was Harry Grant, but he's been ruled out. I'll say for the way that he ended the last 9 weeks of the season, Blake Brayley may have a chance of doing a Kalen Ponga, but I think James Tedesco has been so consistent this year that the medal is his and his alone.
Yep, I agree, and he won our zero tackle player of the year by quite.
I think he's won. As I said, I listened to about 4 or 5 podcasts, and he's won all the players of the year on that. I think he was the Rugby League Players Champion as well. Like he's had a sensational year, Tedesco.
It's a good thing you can't bet on anymore. We're throwing money away. Coach of the year. Now we've heard. I think it's pretty obvious, but we've heard a lot of people throw up Cleary because of the way they started to what he's done. I heard Madge Maguire getting the Bulldogs, getting the Broncos back to where they are. But I think there's only one option.
It's Ricky Stewart, and it's not close. But if you were to go the back half of the season, it's probably Ivan Cleary for the way that he's. I say this in a funny way. If you go the front half of the year, it's Cameron Ciraldo.
Yeah.
If you go the back half of the year, it's Ivan Cleary. But if you go the entire year for consistency, it's Ricky Stewart.
Yep.
Madge Maguire is not a bad shout. I know the Broncos missed the finals last year, so did the Raiders. But the fact that the Raiders got the minor premiership and they did it pretty comfortably, I think that has got to give Ricky Stewart. And you also need to have a look at the Broncos lineup compared to the Raiders lineup. You had the Raiders in the bottom 4 this year. Not many people had the Raiders in the top 8. For the fact that they got the minor premiership, it's Ricky Stewart.
Yep, I agree. Now, rookie.
If you want to give a finals coach after the first 2 weeks, it's Craig Fitzgibbon.
That's it. And you also got to remember that these are regular season awards. So everything we've seen the last 2 weeks don't count. Now, the rookie of the year, you and I disagree on this. I still think it's Iongi for Parramatta. I think that a spine player just is a little bit more important than a back rower. But who's your rookie of the year?
I got Leka Halasima on the simple fact that I couldn't split them. So one played finals and one was in a wooden spoon battle for 85% of the year. And I know he had an outstanding year, but didn't contribute to the wins the way that Leka Halasima did. And also Leka Halasima had that mad highlight that condemned the Knights to the wooden spoon. It's Leka Halasima.
Love it. Now, fullback of the year, we're both going to lock in Tedesco. Let's not waste our time. The wingers of the year, this could be contentious.
I flip-flopped. I think there's been 3 outstanding wingers. I think you've got the most outstanding winger for me this year has been Xavier Coates.
Yep.
And then you got to split the 2 Roosters wingers. In Daniel Tupou and Mark Nawaqanitawase. And I've gone with Mark. And I think this is like the first time since 2019 that Brian Toto won't get in the Dally M Team of the Year.
Fair enough. I agree. I won't even argue at all. Centers of the year. Now, I'm going to go first on this one. I think Herbie Farnworth would have won it if he stayed fit, but I'm going to rule him out because I think he just missed too many games.
Well, he played 19 games. He only missed 5.
Yeah, true. I just feel like I think Katoni Staggs is going to poll a lot of points for Brisbane, and I still think Stephen Crichton was right up there. Any of those 3, though, if Herbie pips either, I'm fine with that.
I don't have Stephen Crichton anywhere near the Team of the Year on the simple fact he scored 5 tries and had 4 try assists or something like that. Now, I know he's great defensively or whatever, but he didn't have the year that some of the other centers did. Like, I look at Gurmat Shibasaki and just think that this guy turned up on a train and trial deal and ended up playing State of Origin. I look at Robert Toyer, who was a rookie and ended up playing State of Origin. I look at someone like Tolatau Kulau from Manly, who scored 16 tries and was absolutely outstanding. And anytime Manly were in trouble, they just threw him the ball like they did to Turbo in 2021, and something mad happened. I think Herbie Farnworth is going to be the one that gets in the team, but I haven't picked Herbie Farnworth in my team of the year. I went with Kolau and Gurmat Shibasaki.
Completely fair. What about your 5'8" of the year?
Ethan Strange, and it's not even close.
Yep, I went Ethan Strange. Now, halfback seems to be the most contentious. Now, a lot of people are going, oh, Cleary's the halfback of the year, missed half the season. I'll tell you who's going to go close and might even pip the award, and that's Nicho Hynes, and I can't wait for the meltdown. But I went young Katoa for the Dolphins. I just felt like he played so much of a role in a lot of their wins. He's just going to take a lot of points.
So I had it down to 4 halfbacks. Luke Metcalf was leading the Daly M's and was absolutely outstanding until he tore his ACL, but he's missed too many games. Isaiah Katoa was outstanding to start the year. The Dolphins were in the top 4. The Dolphins were in the top 8. The Dolphins finished 10th, and I think he burnt out. Jamal Fogarty led his team to the minor premiership, but I think that a lot of the points and a lot of the polling is going to go to Tom Starling, KO Weeks, Ethan Strange, Hudson Young, and Joe Tarpanay. And I believe that the halfback of the year is going to be Nicho Hynes. He was right up the leaderboard in try assists. He was led the line break assists. He led line break engagements, and he led try involvements as well. And he scored 8 tries and he kicked magnificently. I think Nicho Hynes is going to win the halfback of the year this year.
Fair call. Now, the props. I went Payne Haas, who's an automatic.
Yep.
And it's between Terrell May or Joseph Tarpany. I just think the NRL just straight up doesn't rate Terrell May. I think Tarpany will get it.
I think Terrell May had a great start to the year, but again, like I look at Benji Marshall, and he ran that bloke into the ground in the early rounds of the year, trying to, when the West Tigers were, 5-4 and they were in the top 8 and they were around about the top 8, and he just kept flogging this guy and flogging this guy and flogging this guy. At the back end of the year, I know his stats said that he had like 150, 160 meters in a game, but it had little impact like it did at the beginning of the year when he was running for 160 meters and he was bulldozing people. It felt like he was just running for 160 meters just because. And I know there's a term in basketball called a stat padder, and that's what it felt like at the back end of the year that they got out of Terrell May. Payne Haas is the ultimate prop of the year, and it's Joe Tarpany.
Perfect. Now, second row, I got Hudson Young, and I think he should win it by a little bit.
I don't think he's been the best back rower in the competition.
Is Katoa your best back rower in competition?
Eli Katoa is the best back rower in the competition, and that is not close.
Hudson Young, your second one?
Hudson Young is the second one because I think whilst there are fantastic back rowers, I think it's been a down year for the back rowers this year.
Fair call. And lock, I've gone Aaron Clark from the Warriors.
Yeah, you've missed Hooker, but I think there's 3. Again, locks, like normally you turn around at the beginning of the year. In years gone by, it's been Jason Tomalolo taken over by Isaiah Yeo. Pat Carrigan, but he's played a little bit of prop this year. He's been suspended, so he's not eligible for it. I got it down to 3. I got it down to Corey Horsburgh. I got it down to Trent Liero and Aaron Clark. Knowing that you were going to pick Aaron Clark, I went between Trent Liero and Corey Horsburgh. And I just think Trent Liero getting himself into the State of Origin team and then starting an Origin game, he's been fantastic for Melbourne. His ball playing, his link-up play. I went Trent Liero fully expecting it to be Aaron Clark.
And the hooker of the year is down to 2. Which way are you going?
Well, it's down to 1 because Harry Grant is suspended and ineligible to get it, and there hasn't been another hooker in the competition anywhere near as close to him and Blake Brayley, and this is the year of Blake.
It is Blake Brayley. There you are. So we'll see you in the comments now. We're going to go long tonight. We're going to talk about, again, this is something we're probably going to do next week, but I'm hoping we're in prelim when we're too excited to record. 22-man Kangaroos squad. Now, I think I might have sent 23. I double-checked 22.
Mm-hmm.
You want to give me your 1 to 17?
I'm just going to spitball this.
Yep.
My fullback, I'll go a little bit of controversy here. I know the incumbent is Dylan Edwards, and I know Tedesco is going to win the Dalian Player of the Year, but I think Kevin Walters has been brought in to give this team a little bit of flavour, a little bit of let's look to the future, and I think the fullback is going to be Reece Walsh.
I think it'll be Tedesco. I think Kevin Walters is going to want to win this 3-0 because he's
but he'll win it 3-0 with Will Kennedy at fullback.
True, but he wants to get it done because he's got 3 games to prove himself. So your wingers here. Now, Xavier Coates is going to be on both. He's the incumbent. He said he's going to play for Australia.
Yep.
I've only named 2 wingers in my squad here because I don't think you can take 3. I think Lomax is going to pick Marky Mark, but if you'd asked me 8 hours ago, I think it's the other way around. I just think that rugby thing, and I know Walters has come out and said, I'm picking for this. I just think they're going to look and go, why would we pick a bloke who's going to play somewhere else in 12 months' time?
I am going to say that both Mark Nawaqanitawase and Zach Lomax are going to be in the side. I think Mark's going to be on the wing, and I think Zach Lomax is going to be in the centres.
So my centres are Staggs and Best. Now, Staggs may...
Forgot about... Yeah, but Staggs is with Tonga, isn't he?
Yeah, now he hasn't given any notice of what he's going to do. I do think if they offer him the spot, he's going to do it.
But the other thing as well for me is that the Pacific Nations game is played in Brisbane. It's in front of...
It's going to be huge. I think Bradman Best is there no matter what.
I've got Bradman Best. I had Bradman Best and Matt Burton until I watched Matt Burton. He turned slower than milk on the weekend.
No, you're right. And I had Burton in the side up front too.
What's that?
I had Burton originally too, but this past weekend is...
Yeah, I like the call of Katoni Staggs. I'm actually, I'll say this, I'll put Zach Lomax in there for me, but if Katoni Staggs... Actually, go Staggs and Best, and Lomax will be 22nd.
You back it? All right, in the halves, I went Mitch Moses and Nathan Cleary because Munster's probably going to get picked. But Munster's what, 30-something now? There's every chance that he's going to say, I don't need to go to England for 3 or 4 weeks. I don't need to be away from my family. I don't need to prove myself. I've got a World Cup spot. I think they need to look at the future, and I think Moses and Cleary is your best option.
I love how you say Cam Munster is 30 years older than you go and pick a bloke older than him.
Nah, Moses has missed
Moses is older than Cam Munster.
Yeah, he's missed so much football. I think Munster is in a spot where he's just going to say, I don't need this.
Nah, it's Munster and Cleary.
Yeah, that's fine. Now, up front, these are contentious because they may not. So I'm going Tino and Koloamatangi. Now, Koloamatangi's pretty much said that he would love to play for Australia. Tino probably hasn't committed either way, but I think they're your best props available considering your real best props are playing for Samoa and Tonga.
Yeah, if Tino doesn't declare for Samoa,
yeah,
I am saying it's Tino and Koloamatangi.
Now, Harry Grant is the 9.
No, Koloamatangi. I had Koloamatangi on the bench. I had Tino and Lindsay Smith.
Yep, cool. I've got Smith on the bench. We'll get more to that. Now, my back row is Angus Crichton and Hudson Young. I'm taking Preston on the tour and I'm putting him on the bench, but I think that they're going to go Crichton because there's just too many players there that haven't got those 20 games Kangaroos experience, and I think that's the way they'll go.
Crichton, yes. I think Ruben Cotter's going to be in the run-on team. So I'll go Crichton and Cotter and Isaiah at lock. I could also see Isaiah. Well, where's Pat Carrigan? So Pat Carrigan could start at prop.
So my bench is Lindsay Smith, Pat Carrigan, Jacob Preston, and Tom Dearden.
I can't see them leaving Liam Martin out.
He's not going.
Oh yeah, he's injured, isn't he? Yeah. Right. So Harry Grant's going to be. I'm going to flip again. If Tino's available, let's say Tino's available. I'm going Tino. I'm going Harry Grant. I'm going Pat Carrigan. My back row is going to be Crichton, Cotter, and Neo. And on the bench, I'm going Lindsay Smith, Koloamatangi, Jacob Preston, Tom Dearden.
Cool. That's a good side. Now, I saw that there's 22 and thought, well, they're going to have to pick players that play multiple positions. I think your backup winger and your backup fullback is Dylan Edwards because he played wing for Australia in the past. I think they take Ethan Strange and he backs up the other positions. I've got Cotter there. I got Lindsay Collins there, and I got Blake Brayley.
Well, if you're taking Ethan Strange and you've got Tom Dearden, there's no spot for Blake Brayley.
Fair.
So I'm going to say that even though Ethan Strange has today declared that he will play for Australia, I wouldn't take him.
I think he's got to be there because I think they're gonna play 17 players unless there's injuries. I think you take Strange.
Well, if you're 2-0, they're going to rotate.
Yeah, I'm taking Strange, and if
Yeah.
they are 2-0, I'm playing in. I'm same with Brayley. Now,
Yeah.
the reason I took Brayley over, say, Connor Watson is if Harry Young does get hurt, there's no number 9 in that squad, and I don't think Connor Watson's proper number 9. You could add Munster to that, or you could add Robert Toya and not take Strange. There's heaps of players available, and we don't know where Toya is going to play just yet. But this squad, considering it's probably missing 6 or 7 players that would walk into this side, it's still heavy favourites.
And I'll say this, like, let's just throw this out here. If, and this is an if, say Cronulla win the comp, you're probably looking at Teague Wilton leapfrogging Hudson Young into the side because they always pick a couple of premiership players. And you're sitting there saying, oh, like, what are you going to do about the front row or something like that? It wouldn't surprise me if they turn around and threw Ruben Cotter out and said, say, Toby Rudolph. You can have a spot. Or Jesse Colhoun, you're young. Let's shoehorn you into the team. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard. Like these rep games that are only like when you've got a bigger squad, for like a World Cup, you can basically see where it's coming from. But when you've only got 5 replacements, it's hard. Can I interest you in Mitch Kenny? Because I've seen one certain Panthers fan saying that Mitch Kenny is definitely a rep player and he's definitely an Australian player. Can I get you in for Mitch Kenny?
No, you can't.
No.
I don't think there's any player there that you'd swap him for. If he's there, I'm not going to be offended. But no, the players we've named are better suited. But there you go. There's our Kangaroo 22-ish. Let us know in the comments how wrong we are. Whatever. It's always fun. But let's get out of here, Terry.
Let's go. Hey everyone, thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Knock On Podcast, probably our best and biggest episode that we have ever done. And this was brought to you, of course, by the great people of Zero Tackle, your one-stop shop for all things rugby league, news, contracts, up-to-date, player ratings, 20-1, power rankings that didn't make any sense this year. I've got the most handsome journalist on Zero Tackle sitting opposite me, and it's not Dan, it's Scott. Hey, Scott. No, it is Dan. Dan, what have you got for us in prelim week?
Nothing. I'm going to sit back and I'm going to ride this week because I have a feeling it might be our last. But next week, and Scott, you can take this as gospel. If Cronulla win on Friday night, you're going to have 15 Pro Shark articles in your inbox. So get ready. Let's get them.